Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to a $250 gaming PC build. Now, right off the bat, I'm just going to say that this build is not meant to play games like Battlefield 3 or Witcher 2 at max settings at 1080p. No, this is meant to play lower-end games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, or even you guys can play Battlefield 3 or Witcher 2 at lower settings at 720p. This build is meant if you need a PC already and you just want to game on the side. This is going to be a really good fit because this build is actually fairly decent for the money. So with that being said, let's get right into this. For the CPU, I actually went with the APU route, and I got the AMD A6 5400K. It's a Trinity CPU clocked at 3.6 GHz, 3.8 GHz turbo, and it's socket FM2, 65 watts. It's a dual-core CPU, and it's an APU. So what that means is it's a CPU and a GPU in one. So it's a CPU, but it also has an integrated GPU, the Radeon HD 7540D. Now, this isn't a super fast GPU, but the thing about the APU is you can actually get a low-end graphics card like a Sapphire Radeon HD 6670 or a 7750 for around 60 to 80 bucks, and you can actually pop that into your motherboard and you can crossfire the integrated graphics with your dedicated GPU if you want to get one down the line. For this build, you're not going to get one because that would have gone over the budget, but down the line, if you do want to get something like a 6670 or a 7750, you can actually crossfire it with the integrated GPU, and you actually get very solid performance if you go with that configuration. Games like Battlefield 3 are going to run fairly decent at 1080p at medium settings at around 25 to 30 frames per second. That's a fairly good gaming experience just for spending an extra $60 to $80. But by itself, the 7540D that's integrated to the A6 5400K is also fairly decent. This can run games like Borderlands 2 at low to medium settings at 25 to 30 frames per second at 720p. So think about it, this is actually cheaper than a console. You get to do everything that you could with a PC, and you can basically game as good as a console can game. So for $60, this was a fairly good addition to the build. For the motherboard, I went with the Asus F2A 55-MLK Plus. This is an FM2 motherboard, nothing really special about it, but the thing that is good is it supports up to 1866 speed RAM. And the thing about the APU is you really want high speed RAM, so because the APU actually uses the RAM speed, so you want higher clocked RAM, say 1600 or 1866, you want to stray away from 1066 and 1333 RAM in an APU configuration. Now this is $55 after a $10 mail-in rebate, so solid price. It isn't going too high, to the high end, and it's not going too low to the low end, and it has some decent features like UEFI BIOS, like I said, 1866 RAM, which is the big thing, 1866 and 1600 I should say, which is the big thing about a motherboard that uses the FM2 socket. Speaking of the RAM, I went with Corsair Vengeance 4GB at 1600 speed. Like I said, the APU actually thrives off the RAM's clock speed, so getting 1600 or 1866 speed RAM is a benefit. Now, actually, down the line, you can pick up another stick of this for around $40, and you'll have 8GB of RAM, but like I've said before, 4GB of RAM is still a viable option for a gaming PC, because a lot of the latest titles like Saints Row 4, Splinter Cell Blacklist, actually still, their recommended requirement for RAM is only 4GB, so 4GB is definitely still viable and something to look at if you are building a budget PC. Now for the power supply, I went with the Corsair Builder Series CX430, 430 watt power supply for $20. This is 80 plus bronze certified, really good budget and power supply. It's 430 watts, it's going to power the build no problem. The CPU only, or the APU I should say, only uses 65 watts of power, and even if you throw in a GPU like the 6670 or the 7750, those GPUs are very low, very good on power efficiency, so the 430 watts is way more than enough, and it's going to do you just fine. For the hard drive, went with Western Digital WD Blue 1TB. I opted to go the 1TB route instead of the 500GB route, since the 500GB is $60 and the 1TB is $65, so you might as well spend that extra $5 for the terabyte, especially with next generation games using more and more space. You might want to get something hefty like a 1TB. I think 500GB is going to start becoming too small of an option to go with for a gaming PC, since games like Total War Rome 2 are 35GB. That's going to cramp up your hard drive space fairly quickly. Finally, for the case, I went with the NZXT Source 210, $25 case. It's a solid mid-tower case. I mean, it doesn't have all the best features in the world, but for $25, it's going to get the job done, and that allows you to save money and fit that $250 to $270 budget point. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Remember to hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment down below, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.